So it's World Championship qualifier season, and I know not only do we have one in North America, but it's all across the world. And a lot of people are really wondering, what do I take to my World Championship qualifier? What do I take to succeed at my nationals and move on to the World Championships down in Japan? And really, it's on everybody's mind, mine too. So today I'm going to teach you my step-by-step process on how I narrow down not only the best deck to play for that event, or for any event really, but also how to build it correctly in order to counteract whatever metagame is in play. So, a little bit about me first. My name is Alex Juneja, also known as the Based Lolly. That name has nothing to do with my interests, although I do like a little bit of anime and manga. I don't like any form of little children. I just want to clear the air with that now. I have a lot of tops, but no YCS or Konami wins. I have an ARG win, if those still count somehow, but I have not topped an event since YCS Toronto 2017. I am Indian from India. I have a lisp and I have a speech impediment. So with all that being said, I've had no real incentive to change because ladies love that kind of stuff. Doesn't matter, they think it's cute. But the big thing is that if I do it in this video and I annoy you, I apologize. But this information is really good. I think it could be really, really helpful and really, really constructive. So if you want the information, at least, I recommend having at least a friend watch it if it's unwatchable for you. But now you don't have to post about this in the comments. You can, now so you can just comment actual questions. Or you can comment about what I just said and just point out what I already said in the video. That's totally fine, but without further ado, let's get right into how to build a great deck for any event, whether it be on a local level or even a national level. It's all about picking the right deck, so let's get into it. Keep in mind all of these are guidelines because rules are very strict, and in picking a correct deck or building a great deck or doing whatever, you really have to follow these guidelines, but sometimes there are exceptions, and more often than not. And in a rule, it's super strict, so there are rarely exceptions. But there are always exceptions, This is even though it's a mathematical game, there's a lot of player interaction going on and player decision, so human decision, whether it be binary or beyond that. So keep that in mind as I go through these guidelines. First major guideline, research. Everyone kind of has to put the time in, regardless of whether you're a casual player or a very competitive player. Everyone kind of has to go and figure out what the metagame is. If they're trying to build a deck to win their locals, they have to look around and see what everybody's playing. That's just that's baseline. To win an event like nationals or top an event like nationals, you have to see what everybody everywhere is playing. You have to really think ahead, but also be kind of in the moment. See what people in the moment are really, really going to consider playing for their NAWCQ. Very, very important. TCG Player, we have a lot of great resources. We have TCG Player, we have Dueling Book, because you can see the top rated games and see what everyone's pitting against each other, certain card choices. You have YouTube. There's so many great YouTubers out there. Shout out to Cimoooooooo, who's putting up this video, but also shout out to the many, many YouTubers, even the smaller ones who are posting these deck profiles from all these international nationals, from Europe and everything. Thank God for them, because without them, it would be really hard, not really hard, but it would take a long time for a precise metagame to be created. The second big step after you do the research, this is again a guideline, is really figure out what you want to do. In Yu-Gi-Oh! There are a lot of cards. There are just so many different cards, and therefore there are so many different decks. And not all cards are created equal. It's just how it is. If you don't like that, then honestly, maybe picking up a different game would be better, and that's not trying to be mean or facetious. That's just unfortunately how the game is created. It's made by a company, and they every card is different. It's not like chess, so and you have no control over which card is being printed. So, period. All cards are different, so. In a lot of cases, many cards will be stronger than other cards, and this will create a metagame. And the metagame is created because when certain cards are better than the other and people notice that, more people will play those cards. It will be more popular. A meta is essentially, and a lot of people get this mixed up, they think, oh, it's an archetype, so therefore it's meta. You know, I go on Dueling Book, and if I'm playing like some Gladiator Beast deck in 2017, they go, "Wow, meta deck." That's not the definition of meta. That's not even close to the definition of meta. So a lot of players, especially competitive, may listen to this and think, "Well, Alex, that sounds really obvious." And so, yes, to you guys, it probably does sound very obvious, but to the casual player, the less competitive player, they don't really know what meta means. They see a really good deck, and then people say, "Oh, meta deck," and they go, "Oh, meta must mean a really, really good deck, or like a deck with an archetype." That's not true. A meta game is a collection of the most popular decks. And so when this meta game is constructed, you have to make a choice. You have to either choose to play the more popular decks or choose to play a rogue deck, which is a meta call. Again, this comes down to research, but you have to choose, as my good mentor Brady Brink would call it, do you want to play the deck that needs to get flooded, or do you want to play the deck that's doing the flooding? So the next guideline comes down to theory versus practice. Now, theory is when you or a collective group of people really kind of deliberate over cards or card choices. So this is theory in a Yu-Gi-Oh sense. Of course, theory's dictionary definition is probably totally different. I'm not here to tell you that. But theory from a Yu-Gi-Oh perspective is basically a collection of people, or just yourself, like deliberating between which card does what and how each card interacts with whatever you're trying to apply it to. So in this case, in most cases, a lot of people theory the meta game and theory what cards work, what cards don't, and then practice, where they go and they play. They go to their locals, they play. They like pick up a deck, they play the hell out of it. Go on Dueling Book, play. Just play. So that's practice. You need a little bit of both, everything in moderation. You need a little bit of both to really construct a valuable, valid opinion and this is just a life lesson. That's something you need to do for everything. And again, put the time in. I can't emphasize that enough. Putting the time in is super, super important. That being said, theory in this case is a little more important than practice. And what I mean is, a lot of people, especially the more casual players, don't have the time and don't prioritize Yu-Gi-Oh high enough to sit down and play 100 games, 1,000 games, 10,000 games like the people on Dueling Book do, which is absurd. That level of 10,000 games is ridiculous. But the competitive players have to do their best with the time they're given. And they have to make the most of that time that they're given, because, life happens, right? So theory essentially becomes the most important, because you can theorize cards and you can make connections with great game sense that you can develop over time, just in a matter of like an hour, 2 hours. If you think about Yu-Gi-Oh for maybe like an hour a day, you don't even have to play, right? Just really take the time, go through maybe YouTube, go through your list of research places, the places you do research, and really kind of take the time to figure out which cards you want to use. Don't ever get caught up in anecdotal evidence, and that's more of a rule when utilizing theory. And this is taking practice too far in that direction, but also you don't want to theorize everything and then go to an event and you are just like totally wrong. Maybe you're wrong about a ruling. Maybe something's just not right. You need to play the deck. You actually need to play the deck, especially when there are so many tournament procedures that go on that don't occur in normal tabletop or kitchen top Yu-Gi-Oh. You'll be playing with your friends, haha, it's great, but then you go to a tournament, 40 minutes, when that's over, you get stunted, you lose in time, you accidentally pick up a card you weren't supposed to, and then you go, oh, I'm sorry, put it back immediately, your opponent calls a judge, you get a game lost. There are just so many procedural things you could just die to, metaphorically speaking. So you really have to play, but at the same time, theory is extremely important, because a lot of people get caught up in, like I just said, anecdotal evidence. Now, anecdotal evidence, as I've mentioned before, the definition of that is basically when you take what's going on in practice, this card will win me a game, this card will win me a match, randomly, right? They will use that and say, okay, this card is good. Well, that's not a valid reason. That's never a valid reason, because it won you one game. Nice. Well, guess what? You'll have to play many more games on a national level. So maybe on a local level, that's okay. But even then, actually, it's still not okay. But you don't want to get caught up in that fallacy. It's a logical fallacy, because if something happens over the course of 10,000 games, that's very different. But over the course of 1 or 2 games, it's a fallacy. That doesn't make it bad. It doesn't make it doesn't even make it good. You really just have to test and use theory and good game sense. That's how a lot of the top players get to where they are now. Fourth one, very, very big, get some friends. And I know that sounds really funny, but what I mean by that is get people who are either on your skill level as far as Yu-Gi-Oh is concerned, or even if they're not on your skill level, if they're beneath you, as far as that's concerned, they have the same goal as you. They have the same goal as mine. You guys are moving in the same direction. That's very, very important. It really gives you, because having a separate set of eyes really gives you a different perspective at all times. And I want you guys to know this is very, very important. This is coming from someone who has been successful on the competitive level. Asking questions is totally fine. It doesn't hurt to ask questions. It doesn't make you bad. It doesn't make you less than someone else, because you want to learn something, because you want to know something. Never be afraid to ask questions. Never be afraid to go out of your comfort zone, meet people, try and get in touch with people. So many times people will approach me at events, ask me to sign cards, but then they'll be like, I wanted to ask you something, but it's probably just a waste of your time. Well, no, don't hesitate, seriously. And this probably goes for everyone. A lot of people who play Yu-Gi-Oh are very mean. In every gaming community, they're like that at the highest competitive level, but a lot, like so many more, are so nice. There are so many nice people who play this game. So please don't be afraid to do that, and try your best to make like a testing group, especially in your area. Super helpful. Gives you good people to play against. It gives you a different perspective. It's just all around beneficial. So the last point I want to make, the last guideline: do not be afraid. Now this comes in two examples. The first one is net decking. A lot of people are way too afraid to see a deck list online and then play that carbon copy for nationals or for any event. Now, while I think that's wrong for a different reason, I don't think it's wrong to take a deck that they see on the internet or they see someone play and play it for an event as wrong. I don't understand how that's wrong. I don't understand why that's bad. You don't get a gold star for playing a meta call, period. If you top, you top. If you don't, you don't. You achieve the same result as someone who played a good deck, and nobody will look at you, nobody smart anyway, will look at you and say, wow, that guy is very, very skillful because he played an off-the-wall deck. Nobody will do that. And then essentially, if you do play a meta call, you have to realize that it will become a lot more popular after you play it and do well. So then it will become a part of the meta, and it will no longer be a meta call, it will be a meta deck. Very, very important, especially if it's like really, really good. Like Burning Abyss is a very, very good example of those kind of decks, because in every single format, someone seems to do well with them, and so then they become a meta call. They just become geared differently to combat the meta. But it's never wrong to take a deck online and do it, because and a lot of people just ignore this, conveniently ignore this, but you still have to play that deck really well. Like, you can't just go to an event, pick up a deck off the internet, and then just play terribly. You will not do well, period. It's just, you are better off playing with something you're comfortable with. Very, very important. But if you are comfortable with a deck and you see a very, very good build of it online, there's no reason why you shouldn't play it. There's no reason why you should handicap yourself, and there's no reason why you shouldn't strive for success, period. Doesn't matter what your friends say, they're probably jealous. Doesn't matter what, that's it. Doesn't matter what people online say, they don't top or do anything important, sorry. What I'm trying to say is perpetuate positivity. It doesn't matter if people go online and get a good deck, it's flattering, A, and B, it's not wrong. If a deck is really, really good, there's no reason they shouldn't play it. There's no reason you should limit yourself, ever. Now, if you're playing a meta call, there's no reason to call you a special snowflake. You are just smart. You built a really good deck that's off the wall, and if it's good, it's good. If it sucks, it sucks. Too bad. I mean, that's just life. Now, in that regard, this ties into the second example, which is be confident in your choice. So don't be afraid. You go into an event, you pick up a deck, and now you're scared. All these people are playing this deck you don't want to play against. All these people are playing a better deck. Don't be scared. You picked your choice. You did your time. Just be confident. There's no way you can go back in time yet. So be comfortable, be happy, be confident, and just do the best you can. And honestly, at that point, I hope you do well. I hope you do well. Just keep trying to succeed. Very, very important. Don't let yourself get tilted. That's really bad. Now, why net decking is wrong, just a real segue, is because you're basically playing from a week behind. Now, or however amount of time has been since that event in which you saw the deck on the internet. If you see it on the internet, everyone can see it. It's not just you. So you might as well just, if you see it, don't play a carbon copy of it at the next event. Everyone's already prepared for it. Try and gear it, shift it differently in regards to what everyone else is playing and like the mirror, and really try and figure that deck out and give yourself some time to do that. Don't just take it the night before and be like, haha, time to play it. Like, that doesn't really work out. That's just a lack of preparedness. But that has nothing to do with net decking itself, like the concept of it. It's a bad term that was stigmatized. It was coined by people who don't do well and made to put other people down so that they all play really bad decks forever and ever. Don't do that. Don't fall into that. Strive for success. But play whatever the hell you want. I mean, no one's stopping you. Now, that's just how to choose the right deck for any event you're going to. There are plenty of other topics that probably need to be covered to bridge that gap so that you do well at the event, like how to build the great deck, how to do well at an event, and how to get better faster. I mean, there are so many different topics, but I really appreciate Cimo allowing me to cover this one on his channel. Now, with that said, I recently came to Arizona before Nationals, so I could test too. This is for the North American WCQ. So I asked some of my friends to help me out with this video a little bit, maybe give you a little bit of their insight too. They're local legends, I like to call them, but please take the time, enjoy that, you know? This is Base Lolly. I'm out of here. All right, I'm done with this video. See ya, all right, let's go.